I pulled real comments people have posted, people your age, in your exact position, and I'm going to answer them one by one, what they're afraid of, why it's so common, and exactly what to do about it. Stick around, because by the end, you'll have a real list of moves you can today, this week, and this month, not someday. But first, I want you to know something before anything else in this video. You're not alone, and you're not too late. Not even close if you can change and believe too. Let's start with the one that comes up more than almost any other. Someone wrote this: I don't have the physical strength to work 2 jobs. What am I going to do when my aging body can no longer work? Underneath that question is a very specific fear, not just, will I have enough money, but will I even be physically able to keep earning? That's a different, scarier fear than a simple savings shortfall, because you can't budget your way around a bad knee or a health challenge. Here's why this shows up so often at this age. A huge number of people in their late 50s and 60s work physical jobs: security, retail, warehouse, caregiving, trades. Decades on concrete floors or overnight shifts wear a body down in ways an office job doesn't. And most retirement advice assumes you can just work a few more years without asking whether your body agrees with that plan. So here's what you can actually do. Look inside your own field for a lower impact version of the same job. A lot of security companies have monitoring or desk roles that use your experience without the standing and walking. Retail has less physically demanding departments. It's worth one phone call to HR or your manager just to ask what exists. If your body genuinely can't keep working, not it's hard, but genuinely can't, Social Security disability insurance exists for exactly this situation. It's not charity. It's something you paid into your whole working life through payroll taxes for precisely this reason. If you think you might qualify, it's worth a real conversation with the Social Security Administration, not just an assumption that you won't get approved. You might also want to look seriously at when you claim Social Security itself. If you were born in 1965, meaning you're turning 61 this year, your full retirement age is 67. Claiming at 62 permanently locks in a smaller monthly check for the rest of your life. Waiting even a couple of years, if your health and finances allow it, meaningfully raises that check. And if you can wait all the way to 70, your benefit keeps growing every year you delay past full retirement age. That's not a guess. That's built into how Social Security calculates your benefit. This isn't about pushing through pain. It's about finding the door you haven't tried yet. You don't have to grind through pain on the assumption that's the only option. There's almost always a door you haven't tried yet. A different role, a benefit you've earned, a claiming strategy you haven't looked at. Question 2, I'm still paying child support, still in debt, and I'm not even 50 yet. Someone wrote, still trying to pay child support, and I'm 47 this year, falling apart physically, just trying to pick out a tent to live in. For individuals under these category, every dollar already has a job before it even arrives. This one's about competing emergencies. Child support and debt have due dates. Retirement doesn't send you a threatening letter, so it always loses the fight for your attention, even though it matters just as much long term. This is genuinely one of the harder positions to be in, because there's no clever trick that makes 2 obligations fit into 1 paycheck. But here's what actually helps. List your debts by interest rate, not by how loud or old they are. Extra money goes toward the highest interest debt first, usually credit cards, not the car loan or child support, which typically carry lower rates. That's where extra dollars do the most good, the fastest. At the same time, if your job offers any retirement plan at all, put in something, even 1%. Not because 1% solves anything on its own, but because it keeps the habit alive and protects a small amount of compound growth in the background while you deal with the bigger fires. You can always increase it later. You can't get back years you never started. And if a torn bicep or a bad knee is part of your story too, like it was for the person who wrote this, don't wait to find out what workers' compensation, short-term disability, or your state's disability programs actually cover. A lot of people assume they don't qualify and never check. Checking costs you nothing. Please understand that you can't fix everything at once, but you can still fix something. I probably read this sentence, or some version of it, more than any other. I'm already 60. What's the point now? I should have started 30 years ago. And every time I read it, I wasn't really reading about money. I was reading about regret. It's strange how we judge ourselves. Nobody says, I shouldn't plant this tree because I didn't plant it 20 years ago. But somehow, when retirement comes up, we convince ourselves that late means pointless. Those aren't the same thing. Here's the truth. You cannot change the years behind you. Not one of them. No amount of guilt, shame, or regret adds a single dollar to your retirement account. Regret feels productive. It isn't. It just steals today's opportunities while pretending to care about yesterday. Maybe you've caught yourself doing this, looking at people your age, wondering how they got so far ahead, wondering what you did wrong. But here's something we almost never see. We don't see the inheritance. We don't see the pension. We don't see the paid-off house. We don't see the spouse who earned twice as much. We're comparing our entire story to someone else's highlight reel. That's a comparison nobody wins. The only comparison that matters now is this. Will next year's version of you be grateful that today's version finally started? Or will they wish you waited one more year? Because those are your only two options. Waiting has never made retirement easier. Last one, and this one trips up more people than any lack of money ever does. I have a 401k available through work, but I don't know how to invest. This is an overwhelm problem, not a money problem, and it stops more people cold than you'd think. Here's the good news. You don't need to become an investing expert to start. Most 401k plans offer something called a target date fund. You pick the one labeled with the year closest to when you expect to retire, say 2032 or 2035, and it automatically adjusts its mix of investments to get more conservative as that date approaches. It's built specifically for people who don't want to manage individual investments themselves. Please still do your research concern this, and if you do have any income left over each month, even a small amount, this is where your age actually works in your favor for once. In 2026, if you're 60, 61, 62, or 63, the IRS allows what's called a super catch-up contribution to a 401k, up to $11,250 above the normal limit, specifically because lawmakers recognized people this age are often trying to catch up fast. You don't need to use all of it. Even a small, consistent contribution into that space compounds faster than you'd expect over just 5 or 10 years. Get the real numbers. They're almost never as unmanageable as the version living in your head at midnight. This week, not someday, this week, do one thing. Log into your 401k enrollment page or call HR if you don't have access yet and ask 2 questions. Does my employer match any of my contribution? And which target date fund is closest to my expected retirement year? That's it. That's the entire first step. You don't need a spreadsheet. You need one short phone call or 5 minutes on a website. If you plan on retiring 10 years or 5 years from now, take this retirement stress tests 6 months before you retire. Try living only on what your projected retirement income would actually be. Not as punishment, as information. It tells you exactly how big the gap is, instead of that gap living as a vague, terrifying feeling in the back of your mind. One person who did exactly this said it gave them real peace of mind because an unknown fear is always worse than a known number. I wish you the very best in your journey.